Hello super friends and welcome to DC TV Talk. This is the show where we talk all things Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow and Black Lightning. And in today's video we're going to be doing my review for The Flash Season 4 Episode 23, otherwise known as the season finale, otherwise known as We Are The Flash. This is probably one of the first finales in the history of the Arrowverse that I have not been super enthused going into, given the fact that Season 4 has been extremely inconsistent, to put it nicely. And the fact that I was not excited about this finale perhaps put me at a bit of a better judgment, given the fact I went in with low expectations, and overall I actually really enjoyed this finale and thought it was a decent way to wrap up the season. So this episode picks up immediately after episode 22, where the Enlightenment has begun. DeVoe has began the Enlightenment and everything in Star City begins to shut down, or in Central City, sorry, not Star City. And we see all this technology is getting switched off. We see Singh actually giving Barry a call. He was actually... It sounds like he was offering to give him his job back, which was interesting. I didn't really expect that here, but we got that in the end. And basically the Enlightenment has began, but it has about a half an hour period before it actually begins officially. Or I think it was an hour period actually, sorry. About an hour period before it fully begins, so Team Flash is really against the clock to really stop this before it goes full throttle. Now, in the synopsis for this episode, it was teased that a new ally was going to be joining Team Flash, and we saw her in the end of the last episode, and that is, of course, Marlize DeVoe. She has now turned against Clifford entirely, and she has joined Team Flash to help them stop him. And she basically comes up with the concept of, well, the man I married was not evil, he was not crazy, this was a good man, and there's still good inside of him. The Clifford DeVoe is a good man, the Thinker is not, and she's kind of like separating the two. And it was actually an interesting idea because this is when she brings up the plan for the episode, which is to put Barry inside of the Mindscape. Now, the Mindscape is something exclusive to DeVoe. This is kind of his own personal kind of mental lair that he goes into. And it's basically just a massive world just full of all of DeVoe's memories and full of everything to do with DeVoe. So Barry, using the Thinker's chair, which Marlize took over last episode, he actually straps himself inside of it, and it was actually really cool to see that because that was that kind of iconic comic book imagery that we've been waiting for, with the Flash stuck to all the Thinker's sort of wires, and we got that here. We got to see Barry stuck to the chair. And they actually combined this with Cecile's powers. They actually combined this with Cecile's cerebral inhibitor, which I didn't expect them to do. I didn't expect them to make Cecile so relevant in this episode, especially given the fact that she was so close to giving birth. Like, we knew that in this episode Cecile was going to give birth, and she does, but we'll get onto that. But they actually combined the two so that Cecile could actually help keep Barry focused and keep him inside of this, basically, mindscape of DeVoe's. Now, Barry goes inside this mindscape and he starts looking for DeVoe. He starts looking for, original Clifford DeVoe, the good one, the good DeVoe who they met in the flashbacks and so forth. And he goes to all these different locations. He's not there. He goes to all these different places. But meanwhile, we actually see Harry run off, and Cisco goes after him. And he basically is pleading with Cisco to allow him to use the thinking cap one final time. And he puts the thinking cap on, and he says they need to go to the place where Marlize and Clifford fell in love. So Barry goes there. They go to that picnic spot that we saw a couple episodes ago. And this is where we see the return of a favourite character. That character being Ralph Dibny. Now, we knew that Ralph was in this episode, but what they actually did here I didn't expect. Because I thought Ralph was going to come back to life. I thought this episode was going to involve time travel, but it doesn't. Turns out that whole bus thing where Barry went back to the bus, that was actually all inside of the Mindscape. And it turns out that all of the different bodies that DeVoe inhibits, actually, the person's soul goes inside of the Mindscape. So this was actually Ralph, who has been living in this Mindscape for a few weeks now. And he sees Barry, and then this is where we actually see Ralph and Barry team up. But it was really nice to see Ralph back on the show. I really missed him, because I really liked him this season. And it was really nice to have him back, and just to have him for this episode, just kind of helping Barry out in the Mindscape, was really awesome. So Barry and Ralph kind of go inside of Central City in the Mindscape itself, and we see Barry and Ralph turns back into the elongated man. He gets his suit back, and we see them both take on DeVoe and take on a massive army of DeVoes. And this was very exciting. I mean, this was like, given the fact that I'm not a fan of DeVoe's powers necessarily, seeing him just create an army of himself was quite hilarious, and watching how Barry and Ralph decided to take them down and actually use each other's powers to each other's benefit was really interesting, especially when Barry just grabs grabs Ralph and starts swinging him around like an Olympic hammer. That was quite entertaining. And it was a really good fight because we kind of needed a big fight at the end, because you always do. And I thought this was quite an interesting way to do it, given the fact that this technically didn't really happen in the real world. So it was actually quite interesting to see them go that direction. But it works with a character like the Thinker and like DeVoe. However, after all of this, we actually see them finally take down DeVoe, and this is where DeVoe actually dies and where Ralph comes back. So Ralph is now officially alive again, because obviously the last body that DeVoe inhibited was actually Ralph, because even though he looks like DeVoe, he's obviously been in Ralph's body, shapeshifted to look like DeVoe. So actually DeVoe has now died, and the soul inside of him, of course being Ralph Dibny, has come back to life, and we now have Ralph back on the show, which completely explains how he was going to come back, because I didn't see them doing it like this at all. Like I said, I thought it was going to be time travel, but it was actually a completely different way, and fair dues for the writers to actually surprising me in that sense, because I didn't see that coming at all. And it's really nice to have Ralph back on the show. I guarantee you he's a series regular next season, because he was quite well received, I think, for the most part in this season. So to see him come back next season is something I think a lot of us want to see, and he'll definitely become a series regular if the opportunity arises. Now, we do see them actually fix Harry. Harry actually becomes fixed, kind of. They use the thinking cap and they kind of reverse it, in the sense, which is something I kind of predicted a while back, is that they were going to kind of use something of the Thinkers to reverse it and put it on Harry. And they do that, and they think they fixed Harry, but he's basically average Harry. He just turns into an average person with an average IQ. He's not, you know, he's fixed. He's not like a bumbling idiot anymore like he has been for the past couple episodes. He's actually now just an average IQ kind of guy. So he's not as smart as he once was. You know, he hasn't got like the 9 PhDs he has, or that he did have. Well, technically he still has them, but, you know, he doesn't have the intelligence for that anymore. He's just an average guy. And we actually see Harry then leave Earth 1. He's going to go back to Earth 2 to spend time with Jessie. And there's a nice little scene where they all end, and, you know, he walks off and he forgets to hug them, and he comes back and he hugs them. It was just a nice little scene. Tom Cavanaugh is just such a good actor on the show. And this basically does confirm that we're going to be getting a new Wells next season, which I think is quite exciting given the fact we've had 2 with Harry, so it would be nice to get a new one next season. So DeVoe then actually manages, using Kilgore's powers, to reincarnate himself in a form of technology, which was really interesting. Something that's very akin to the Thinker in the comics. But then this is when Marlize DeVoe literally just takes the battery out the back of the chair, because obviously she built the thing. So that was quite interesting. It was just kind of weird to see him come back like that, but after she took the battery out the chair, that was the official end of DeVoe. But in doing so, seeing as they kind of interrupted a process, one of the satellites that DeVoe was using to use the Enlightenment actually begins to crash and decay in space and fall to Earth as debris right on top of Central City, and this is where we get the final big conflict of the episode. So we have all of Team Flash, we have Cisco and Ralph and Barry all going out there to save the people, and also Singh is involved in the action a little bit, which was nice. But then eventually they decide that Barry needs to go up and basically just use his speed to fully just destroy that satellite before it actually hits anything. But they kind of come to this decision that, if he does it on his own, he's going to get killed by it as well. He's going to want to be destroyed by it. And we get a really interesting moment where he goes up and he does it, and then the show just stops. The episode just stops, freezes for a few seconds, and then just reverses it. And I was really confused by this. I thought, is this supposed to happen? Like, I was really confused why this was happening. And then we see him run back up again, and followed behind him is the yellow and purple streak. And this is when I knew, okay, here we go, it's the mystery girl. And she helps him, and you actually see just her hand, but you see she actually has a suit, which is nice, like a speedster suit. And they actually do it together, which was really interesting. That was a very fun and good way to bring her back into it. This was perfectly timed with Cecile's birth, or Cecile's and Joe's daughter's birth. They actually gave birth to their child at this moment, their baby girl. And it was just a nice moment, you know, to see them all kind of, because Barry just kind of runs back in with everyone at the end, and they just hear the baby cry, and then they all run into the room, and it's just a really nice moment, like a big Flash family moment to have them all surround their new member of Team Flash, as Barry put it. So we then cut to the end of the episode where Cecile and Joe come home, and there's this big party for them, and we finally find out the name of the baby, which is Jenna Marie West, which I can't tell if that is just completely random and irrelevant, or if it's supposed to be Jenny Ognats, because we all kind of maybe predicted that in some way. I don't know if this is kind of like their nod to that, but then it seems a bit weird to call Jenna Marie West. I don't know. I don't know if it's just a random name. It perfectly could be, but I like the name, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I don't think the baby's going to be that involved. I don't think Cecile's going to be that involved next season. It's simply just going to be, you know, something that we're going to have to cut back to for a bit of comedy and a bit of drama when it comes to Joe and Cecile, similarly to what they've done with her pregnancy this season. Also, Wally was in this. I didn't expect this. I didn't know Wally was in this episode until I started watching it when at the very start of the episode, I saw Keenan Lonsdale's name come up in the cast, and I was really excited to see Wally come back. He literally comes back in this final scene, and it was really nice to see him. And at first I thought, does this mean that Wally's back on The Flash now? Because I didn't see him in the Legends synopsis, and also he's not on the Legends Season 3 poster. But I'm pretty sure he says that he's going to go back to the Wave Rider. I'm pretty sure he says, yeah, I found what I was looking for, but the Legends has allowed me to, you know, sort of become my own hero, whereas if I stayed here, I'd just be in the shadow of Barry. So that tells me he's going to go back to Legends, but, you know, I'll do another video on that, so another in-depth topic for another day. But I think it was really awesome just to have Wally, because, you know, Wally, he is a part of this family still at the end of the day, and, you know, like he said, he's not going to miss the birth of his baby sister, so it was really nice just to see Wally come back and spend time with his family at the birth of his sister. But then we got the big reveal we've all been waiting for, which is the reveal of the mystery girl. She shows up at the house, and everyone who has kind of met her individually is kind of like, wait, didn't I see you at this place? And it's like, oh yeah, I also saw you at that place. And they're all kind of relating, and just everyone kind of notices that, hey, aren't you wearing Iris's jacket? And it was quite interesting, because she's like, oh yeah, I got it from her. Everyone was saying, how? And then she's like, yeah, I borrowed it. And everyone was like, what? Especially because Iris is like the one member of Team Flash that hasn't met her before. And then she just blurts out and reveals, oh, I am your daughter from the future. My name is Nora Allen. So I guess we were all kind of wrong in a sense. No one really predicted Nora Allen. I mean, we all knew it was Barry and Iris's daughter. We all knew that. But we didn't predict the name. We obviously all thought it was Dawn Allen, but they went with Nora Allen, which I guess was just a bait and name switch. I guess they just did that to change it up, because it doesn't really matter. And also, this way, they don't have to introduce the Tornado Twins if there's just one of them. They guess they don't do that. But also, calling her Nora Allen does make sense, because obviously Barry would want to honor the name of his mother, so that would make sense to call her Nora. Makes perfect sense in continuity of the show, so I actually quite like the fact her name's Nora Allen. I quite like it. But now we finally have the reveal that she is Barry and Iris' daughter from the future, and she says she's made a big mistake, and that's why she's come back. And possibly this could leak into the Season 5 villain. There were a couple of things that I was expecting to get explained in this episode that didn't. Like, we were supposed to get, I think, the explanation of the Speed Force symbols that we've been seeing all season, but I don't think we are going to get that at the end of the day. We'll probably get that next season, because the Mystery Girl seems to be, or I can call her Nora Allen now, Nora seems to be quite heavily linked into all that, so I guess that she will be the explanation for all that. I mean, she did say when she arrived at the house, she did say that this house is bitchin' line, which obviously was kind of another big thing. I don't know if that was the full reveal. I assume it is, but it seems a bit undercut to be that reveal, but I guess it probably is. So, you know, the whole mystery of this house is bitchin' actually comes from Nora Allen, so that's quite funny. But also, this does link into another thing Barry said when he first came out of the Speed Force, which is that Nora shouldn't be here. And obviously, we all kind of thought that related to his mother. Was that a line from an earlier season? But it wasn't. So I guess this was actually referring to his daughter, which was really, you know, that kind of clears that up a little bit. Also, we were supposed to get the Season 5 villain tease at the end of this episode, which just didn't happen. I think we were all expecting the Chikara reveal, but it never came up. I assume that's a deleted scene, especially because Daniel Panabaker has said they kind of deleted like 2 scenes from the finale, so I assume that's what one of the deleted scenes is. Or maybe they're perhaps not 100% they want to go down the Chikara route. Maybe they've sort of seen the fan response to that, which hasn't been extremely positive. I know I'm not the biggest fan of it, so maybe they're kind of change it. I don't know. But I was expecting the villain tease, and the fact we didn't get it was a bit annoying, but again, this could work out better in the long run. But what did you guys think about this episode? Tell me all your thoughts in the comment section down below about this finale. Overall, I thought this was a really good finale. I thought this was a really decent episode. Given the fact that I had really low expectations going in, I really was happy with how this wrapped up the season, given the fact that I haven't loved Flash this season. You know, it hasn't been my favourite season of The Flash. It's probably been my least favourite, to be honest. But I thought this was a really good finale to wrap it all up, and I liked all the different things we got in the end. I actually really liked going into the Mindscape with DeVoe, bringing back Ralph. That was really fun, and I am really actually quite satisfied with the Mystery Girl reveal being Nora Allen. I'm quite happy about that, because one of my biggest worries was the writers dropping the ball with the reveal, but they actually didn't. They actually followed through, and I was really happy about that, and I thought this was a really satisfying finale in the end. So as always, I'd just like to mention I am going to Heroes and Villains FanFest in London 2018 on Saturday the 26th of May. The event is running on the 26th to the 27th. I'll be there on the 26th. So if you guys are going to be attending that event and you see me, please come up and say hi. It'd be awesome to meet some of you guys. Also going to be collaborating with the DCTV YouTubers. Going to be meeting up with a couple of the celebrities from the shows. It's going to be a really awesome event, and hopefully we're going to get some awesome content coming out of it. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Also, if you like my content and you like my DCTV Arrowverse kind of discussions, then make sure you go and check out my podcast, Honor Thy Podcast, which is my weekly DCTV Arrowverse podcast that I do with my good friend Dan McCants, otherwise known as Mulekick Media. That goes up every single week, so I'll leave a link to that in the description down below, so make sure you go check that out if you're a fan of what I do here. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. It'll help me out a lot. And share this video with anyone and everyone you know who loves DCTV and getting to join the community. And as always, guys, please subscribe for all of your latest content on Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow, and Black Lightning. And with all that said, guys, I hope to see you again in my next video.